Good morning, YouTube! Sorry, I've always wanted to do that. Welcome to an extremely impromptu edition of the Popcast Network podcast. And we are doing something we have never done before. And there's a reason why we've never done this before, because to be totally honest, it wasn't really something that came to mind immediately until circumstances made it a certainty that we had to do this. So if you've been following along for a while, you would know that we have been doing Academy Awards predictions on this network pretty much since its inception. And it started out with me and AJ. And if you're looking at the screen right now, you'll see that the only person available right now is Ashley. There's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is because AJ's having some technical issues. So AJ is going to be joining us via the magical powers of my iPhone 6. Welcome, AJ.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me.
Let's hope so.
I guess the positive thing is, if I can hear him over my stuff, I'm guessing it's coming through.
Cool.
So we should be good. If there's anybody else in the chat that isn't me or Owen, give us some hope.
I would state right now that may be kind of an impossibility given the fact that we're doing this at 10:15 in the morning on the East Coast.
Hey, some people are like sleepers.
Go ahead.
I was under the impression we had like 2 more days to put this together. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
So, my apologies if there's any issues with AJ's audio coming through. I will later on today put a link in the description bar for all of our predictions, so you can follow along with us. I will make sure I notate everything in the actual description bar below, because we're not time-stamping anything this time around. This is going to be a no-holds-barred, except for me, obviously, because I don't curse when it comes to the live streams. Everyone's going to be discussing everything. There's no edits, and there's going to be everything goes. So there you go. So, like I said before, we've been doing this for several years now, and because I moved to Orlando, finally, I made a miracle happen somehow. And thanks to the greatness from a lot of awesome people, I was able to finally move here several months ago. And it was right after the Oscars. Like, legitimately, the reason why I waited until the Oscars was because I wanted to have one last award season with AJ and then literally drive off into the sunset. And that's exactly what happened. So now...
You were very, very upset when you did.
Yeah, you're correct. You probably being one of the only people back where I used to live, barring a few who shall remain nameless for good reason, most of whom do know who they are, whether they want to admit it or not. I would state right now that this was something I had to do, and now that we're here in award season finally, I'm about to turn another year older, AJ's about to turn another year older, and we are ready to talk Oscars one more time. And this time, we're going to do it in a popcast, like nature intended. So, exactly. So basically what we have here is AJ, Ashley, and myself. We're going to go through, if you are new to this, our Big 8 categories, and we're going to discuss our predictions, and we're going to run all the way, not to December this year. No, we're going to be running through January. So we're literally going to be giving our final predictions right before the Oscars themselves. So yes, it'll be a lot of time to be able to get everything in, thankfully. It's going to be running the second week of the month for the next several months. So all the way up from September until January. And we're still trying to work it out. And it seems like it's going to happen because AJ's getting hopefully getting this situation with his sound taken care of soon. And if that's the case, then there is a good possibility we will be doing live streams of the award ceremonies this year. Yeah. Not a guarantee yet, but we're working on it. So AJ, Ashley, and myself will be joining you live with our reactions.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's a shame it won't be for the Golden Globes because, of course, the feeds that I've had for the previous ones had the whole 40 seconds. Applause! Applause, people! Be excited!
And of course, as I'm sure you probably know by now, given where he is in the world, Ashley is banned from the BAFTAs.
I mean, I might not be. It's just, I don't even know if they sell tickets for that.
It's not no, I'm talking about live stream because obviously you're going to get it many, many hours before we do.
Well, that's the complicated thing. If I actually bothered to go to Twitter, Twitter would have the results before my television broadcast, which would be before your television broadcast.
So that's the reason why.
Then again, of course, I could just black out and then watch it when it's archived on the iPlayer when you guys watch it.
Didn't think about that. That could actually work. AJ?
I mean, I won't be truly blacked out, possibly. I'll probably get some bits of stuff here and there, but I won't blurt it out. I'll control the urge to go, God damn it! And other assorted gestures.
AJ, I need a ruling. Are we going to allow this?
Well, here's the thing: is we really should just be truthful and say the real reason that Ashley is banned from the BAFTAs is because he went on stage dressed as Ali G and dumped ashes on Ryan Seacrest. That's the real reason he's banned from the BAFTAs.
Indeed. Indeed. And he's not denying it, so obviously it's true.
I'm just trying to work out why Stephen Fry had banned me, because he's the guy in charge. Everybody might think it's other people within the academy. I think it's actually Stephen Fry.
So now the pleasantries out of the way, it's time for another award season. We're going to do the big 8 categories. Obviously, we're going to be starting with the screenplays, rolling into the acting category, the directing category, and of course, best picture. So we got a lot to talk about. AJ, this is going to be an awkward way to start, but it's the only thing I can think of. AJ, what's the state of the race right now?
Well, that's the thing is usually the circle that I get my information from has been a little more broken than usual this past year, so I'm not quite as heavily informed as I used to. This particular round, anyway, I'm doing a little more blind than I usually do. So
we're all even.
And the fact that I don't watch trailers, it does not help this at all either. So, I know the Greatest Showman trailer got a really... People aren't exactly crazy for it. I heard, this sounds like a huge exaggeration, but the actual thing that and of course this is one of those things that could be completely blown out of proportion because people like to, despite the fact that there's 6,000 plus Academy members, people love to play up one person they know saw one advanced screening and their one comment is going to be how it fares on the race, which obviously is never the way it plays out, but apparently somebody heard somebody say that it was trying to be La La Land and came out more like the Annie remake with Jamie Foxx.
Oh, God.
I don't know how you get from one to the other.
That's not possible.
So I told you, when I saw that Zac Efron and Zendaya played big parts in it, it was like, oh, maybe this isn't a picture contender.
Hey, we all like Zac Efron here, and Zendaya is she's growing as an actress, put it that way. So yeah, basically, long story short, I'm going in a little more blind than usual, so I don't know how good or bad this is going to be. But it's the thing we say every year. Remember, it's the first week of September. It's point our direction to when we would scoff at Ashley for predicting The Lobster in original screenplay is you just really can't jump to conclusions one way or the other yet, even though there will be people out there that want to call you a complete and total delusional idiot because you might say something
in early September that may or may not be the case, but none of us fucking knows that. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep in mind as well, we're only just really kicking into Oscars hype with the fact that Venice is having a lot of films that are being rumored to be talked about for contention, and quite a lot of them are getting very good reviews from the people that actually saw the screenings over there, which will then obviously move to Toronto, and then I know there'll be some screenings at London that will be piquing the interest of some. So yeah, we were only just starting that ball rolling before we even get to like the Gotham Awards and the New York Awards and the LA Awards. You know, the Critics Circle or whatever they decide to call them this year, because sometimes they do online and then Critics Circle for like the same thing, so it's like stupid. But yeah,
Like Venison's on the.
Usually TIFF is the one that tends to be the huge indicator where it's like we do one round of these predictions and then the next month it's like we weren't even remotely talking about stuff like Julianne Moore and Still Alice and Brie Larson and Room or Portman last year until their movies broke out at TIFF, and two of them ended up winning.
Right.
Well, yeah, keep in mind that in competition last year, we had Arrival, Jackie, La La Land, and Nocturnal Animals, which all did get some recognition, if not by the Oscars, but certainly by BAFTAs or Golden Globes.
So the interesting thing about it is you talked about Venice, Ashley. It's going to be ending in a couple days, and that pretty much it's on the 9th, I believe, and it ends right as soon as TIFF starts, because TIFF starts in 2 days. And that's going to be where we start finding out the state of the race, at least early on.
Oh, and also apparently Hacksaw Ridge was shown out of competition at Venice as well. So there's another one to add to that list.
So like I say every single time, and like AJ said earlier, and I'm sure Ashley will say so at some point, it's September. The Oscars are in February. We have plenty of time for the race to change.
Well, actually,
So
the Oscars
anything
are this year because of the Olympics.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the Olympics. So yeah, we have a little bit more time. So basically, when it comes down to it, this is just right now what we're thinking. We're going in blind right now, without question. Maybe a little bit more informed. AJ definitely a little bit less informed than last year, given the fact of everything kind of changing a bit. But we're ready to take on the Oscars here in September. So, that being said, let's get into the categories, shall we?
Obviously, when we start with screenplay, it's worth noting that this early, it's usually a little vague what exactly goes where.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at last year when we had the whole, as big a contender as Moonlight kept flip-flopping where it was.
Of course.
So I'm not totally completely sure how accurate these are in regards to the category placement as of now, but like I only learned just yesterday, number one, that the Post is adapted and not original, and number two, that it's called the Post and not the Papers anymore, apparently.
Well, that's interesting because I've heard that the Post is now original.
Oh, for God's sake, I just saw it was adapted yesterday.
Well, maybe I saw it differently. Well, I guess we're just going to change it later because I'm not changing my predictions now.
I'm going to say one of us is going to be right. I guess that's our cue to go into adapted then.
That is correct. So if you're new to the network, then we're going to do it the same way we always did it with videos. We're actually going to go into AJ first, then Ashley, then myself. Best adapted screenplay.
All right. I have Call Me By Your Name, The Death of Stalin, Last Flag Flying, The Post, and Wonderstruck. obviously, Call Me by Your Name, I wasn't quite sure about at first because it was like you look at Moonlight just winning picture, and then it's like everybody always has that mentality of whatever happened last year is going to happen again this year automatically. So it's like if you have a movie that's themed around young gay people win Best Picture, then the next movie about young themed movie about gay people is going to be as big. But the more I keep hearing about it, the more I just decided to go with it, and it could potentially be a really big deal. The Death of Stalin's pretty easy. That's the guy that did In the Loop and Beat, isn't it?
I believe so.
And it's supposed to be like this really, very much in that style. So, given how kind of barren this category looks, that seems to be kind of a given. And speaking of givens in a bare category, Last Flag Flying is obviously Linklater. That speaks for itself. On top of the fact that it's, a long-delayed sequel to The Last Detail, which did fairly well Oscars-wise in 1973.
Right.
We just went through the whole Post thing to where I'm not quite sure where it lies, but I did see, obviously, Post is a Spielberg movie that's a true story that is Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. And if that wasn't baity enough, apparently one of the writers is Josh Singer. Wasn't he McCarthy's co-writer on Spotlight?
Yes, he was.
And it's pretty much the same territory. So, and then Wonderstruck, that's the Todd Haynes movie, yeah?
Yep.
Well, Todd Haynes is always a good name. His last movie got in this category. But the thing here is that was kind of a last-minute addition when I knew this was going to be a last-minute get-together because this, like I said, I really am not quite sure what's what, but I just know that almost everything seems to be original this year, except for the ones we've mentioned, or I've mentioned so far, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at for adapted as of now.
Okay, in chat we have Gaius joining us. Welcome, Gaius. He says he or she, I have to make sure, I'm not sure exactly yet which one. Call Me by Your Name, Death of Stalin, Molly's Game, Mudbound, and The Post. If you do,
I keep hearing about Mudbound, but I just feel so burned after how much dog I put in Beast of No Nation. I'm not counting on them going for Netflix anymore.
It's a possibility, which is the opposite of what they do with television.
Yeah, but the Academy doesn't deal with television. Really?
I just mean an awards body basically dealing with Netflix as the second coming when it comes to television, and for movies, and let's try again another year.
Yeah, but keep in mind all the successes that Amazon's had.
That's a different story, though. Amazon is what Netflix wishes it was when it came to movies.
Yeah, but Amazon's also got pretty good TV cred, you know, Transparent, Mozart in the Jungle. I guess technically internationally they distribute Mr. Robot, so
right.
There's enough for it to be successful.
So we move on. Ashley, your predictions?
I want to put Death of Stalin in because that trailer looks so bloody funny. But my 5 as it stands, pretty similar. Call Me by Your Name, Last Flag Flying, and Wonderstruck are in there. I guess my 2 different ones, I'm putting this in just because I want to at the minute, because I'm waiting for the front runners to come out. So I'm sticking the Disaster Artist in there for just the fact that, you know, it's something to do with the room. And then finally, in the which category is this in? Darkest Hour.
It's funny
because it's complicated because apparently the book is being written after the film, but there's some argument whether it's going to be an adaptation of the book, because I'm part of me thinking because it's being written after the fact that the film got commissioned, it might be considered original. Maybe.
Well,
because it's based on factual stuff, so for now I'm putting it in adapted, but we'll see.
Isn't this exactly what Foxcatcher went through?
yep.
Yeah.
So Kai says Mudbound is it's a he. Thank you for clarifying. It is fifth because it's a film I feel needs to be amazing given its subject matter. Spoiler alert, Mudbound is nowhere on my lineups because every year I'm like, yeah, maybe I probably should put stuff in here, but I never do. So we're going to go with that this time around. I'm glad Ashley mentioned The Disaster Artist because everyone knows how much I'm super excited about it being in real contention this year. So yes, it will definitely be a part of mine, and I will give you my lineup as well. So right now, my lineup for best adapted screenplay will be Call Me by Your Name. I have the Darkest Hour because I've seen a lot of places that Darkest Hour, like Ashley was alluding to, is running unadapted. So I don't know what they're actually going to run it as officially. Until anything changed, I'm going to keep it. So The Darkest Hour is my second. I also have Richard Linklater in Last Flag Flying. Try to say that 5 times fast. And yes, I'm very happy to say both Neustaedter and Weber for The Disaster Artist. And seeing the fact that that movie is going to do so well, it's A24. It's coming out during the holidays. It's got awards contention written all over it. I just want to see it skyrocket to the moon, and I'm going to run it. The one that I have in my fifth slot that most people aren't talking about is Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. Seeing a lot of good things about it, and I'm not going to lie, there's actually another category that it comes up on later on in our predictions, at least mine, that I really think that it could be a contender as well. And once again, if we've got things like The Post and The Darkest Hour are going to be able to flip back and forth, this could flip as well. So that's what I'm going to go with for my adapted lineup as of this moment.
Oh, shit. Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool was directed by Slevin.
Yep.
I didn't even realize that. Part of me is now wondering whether this is going to be one of those films that my local does as those mystery films. Because obviously around now it's going to be, we're going to start showing the awards contenders.
I'm very happy, and I've been talking about this for years, and AJ knows how much I've been wanting to do this. The AMC movie theaters usually do a Best Picture day or a Best Picture 2 days, like a Best Picture weekend, and they show all the movies that are nominated for Best Picture. I'm finally going to get to attend one this year. I have to pay for it, but I get to attend one.
Because the ones that they showed last year in a block of 6 over like 4 5 months was I, Daniel Blake, Arrival, Monster Calls, Manchester by the Sea, Hidden Figures, and Moonlight. So I saw them with the special screenings rather than anything else. So
nice.
Plus, since then, I guess they've also shown Baby Driver, Big Sick, and Wind River. So you could, that might have been like 3 months ago for Baby Driver, but you might even throw them into the ring. We'll have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I'd love to run Baby Driver in a lot of these categories, but unfortunately, there's too many question marks right now, but we'll get to that. And so we're going to move on now to our next category, which is going to be Best Original Screenplay.
Obviously, this one is packed as fuck. So really, at this rate, it could be anything. It's like a combination of like 15 battling for 5.
Yep.
So what I ended up with, my first choice, was one of those cases where I'm really not sure if this is the right category, but until I hear otherwise, that's just where it's going. But in total, I have Battle of the Sexes, The Big Sick, Phantom Thread, Wind River, and Wonder Wheel. Battle of the Sexes, obviously, it's the directors that did Little Miss Sunshine, but they also did Ruby Sparks, so they could go in one direction or the other. But I do feel like Battle of the Sexes will be kind of that. Like when I look at what I have in the picture, Battle of the Sexes kind of seems to be one of the few like upbeat choices. Like it might be that, still that spot for the year as far as how it all mixes up. The Big Sick obviously exploded. It's apparently like the only really successful indie movie of the year for the summer. And everybody's building up. Apparently they just like, even though it's on DVD in like 2 weeks, they put it back in theaters recently.
Yeah, it came back here too.
Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson. I think that speaks for itself. Whether it's his actors or him himself, they obviously really like to give him attention, because even as divisive as something like The Master was, all three of its main actors got in. Even though Inherent Vice got the reaction it did, he still got in for screenplay.
Right.
So I think that's good to go. Wind River, I'm unsure of, strictly because I just saw it. And I have to make sure I'm not making that rookie mistake of thinking the movie you just saw is going to be a big deal because it's the freshest in your mind. But Taylor Sheridan just has such a respect now, especially after, obviously, with the car, but then how much Hell or High Water really took off, and how he was like a legitimate player in the screenplay race for a while there. It just kind of seems like he just keeps moving more and more up the ladder, and for Wind River to get a lot of attention this year seems to just kind of be the next stepping stone for him. And Wonder Wheel's Woody Allen, that speaks for itself. Obviously, one I did have in here that I took out was Dunkirk, because I feel like Dunkirk's obviously going to be a huge deal, and people may dismiss it because it's not dialogue heavy. Like, the whole point of the movie is there's hardly dialogue in it, but then again, there's still so much more to writing a screenplay than just dialogue, and if it weren't for Woody Allen, The Artist would probably be a movie that won original screenplay, so you can tell that doesn't have too much of an effect. But I kind of went for more dialogue-driven movies, and then the other, speaking of dialogue, is I'm starting to hear a lot about Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is the Martin McDonagh movie, and we know that he very deservedly got in for In Bruges 9 years ago, but still. So those are definitely in there, but that's the 5 I'm going with for now.
All right. Ashley? Oh, hold on. Guys, mentioned Battle of the Sexes, Darkest Hour, Downsizing, The Shape of Water, Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
From Gaius.
Ashley?
My 5's interesting. So I'm putting the Post in there because who knows. I'm also putting Wind River in because, yes, I may be besotted by it, but we make mistakes in the earlier lists.
Yep.
But I'm willing to put it in there because I've really liked Sheridan's work, and I think he did a very interesting sort of, I mean, by the bit at the end, which obviously AJ referenced in the review, there's an interesting sort of, perhaps this was done as more of an amplification of Native Americans' rights in terms of the US law and everything. So I'll stick that in there. I'll stick The Shape of Water in because that's getting a load of crazy praise from Venice, and it's Del Toro, so he's known at least for Pan's Labyrinth, from what I remember, getting some recognition in screenplay, I think.
Hold on. AJ, what'd you say?
I don't think Pan's Labyrinth did, but I can't remember honestly. But I do know that the comparison a lot of people are using for The Shape of Water is Arrival.
Mainly because it's sci-fi based and whatever. I'm putting this in here just because I'd like to see it 2 years in a row. I'm going to stick Killing of a Sacred Deer in. Because part of me wonders whether they are besotted by the pair that brought that. Because that was sort of left field. Keep in mind as well, that release was at least over here, it was late spring, early summer for that film. And I think it sort of came out early fall. but still had the momentum to actually get a nomination. This time they're actually giving it just a sort of awards time release, so perhaps it'll work out better. And then the one that I don't know whether Owen's remembered because of his, what's coming up for the next month for him in Orlando. I'm sticking Get Out in there.
Yes.
I am sticking Get Out in there. It's stuck with me as a really good, actually original screenplay. It didn't try and be too hackneyed because, I would say, people are considering to put Mother in here. Mother to me just looks, from what I'm seeing, is just a rip-off of Rosemary's Baby, which is a little bit concerning. Whereas Get Out, it's like, sure, it takes elements from stuff, but it's not like this is blatantly a rip-off of something. And I think if there's going to be any recognition for that film, this is probably going to be one of the most likely.
Okay.
I know we deal with movies that are really early in the year a lot, but it has a fight on its hands.
Oh, don't get me wrong. With Paul Thomas Anderson and Martin McDonagh and Woody Allen not even making it on my list, keep in mind as well, you've got Catherine Bigelow with Detroit, you've got the Coens with Suburbicon, you've got Alexander Payne with Downsizing, you've got Edgar Wright with Baby Driver, you've got Dunkirk, which I didn't even mention. There's a lot in there. And Big Sick, of course.
It's only just now occurring to me that I didn't even consider more goals.
Oh, well. It's September.
Nobody's crying.
No. Plenty of time to change our predictions, of course. That's the great thing about the fact that it's September. Well, Ashley, we seem to be on a lot of the same pages tonight. AJ knows what I'm about to do, and he's probably not happy about it. Best original screenplay. I've got Alexander Payne for Downsizing. I've got Battle of the Sexes. I've got The Post. I also am going with Get Out. I do think it does have an uphill battle, but I'm really thinking right now that there's mountain climbing equipment that they have in order to be able to traverse the huge mountain that is the award ceremonies. And I really think Get Out's going to make an impact this year. Don't think it's winning much of anything, if at all, but I do think it's going to be a player. And yes, I'm going with Lady Bird. I'm so happy to see. I know AJ's rolling his eyes right now, if you could see him. I love to see my girl Greta doing so well. And now she's a director. And now she's getting acclaim for her directing. And I'm really curious to see what this does. And I think that it's going to be a big deal, to be totally honest. It's going to be an out of the nowhere, but it's going to be something that I think is going to do decently well when it comes to getting award nominations.
I can't tell. Is this build up to something else, or are you talking about Lady Bird?
Of course I'm talking about Lady Bird.
Oh, excuse me while I projectile vomit.
I knew that was coming.
It did just come to mind. I don't think it's a fair comparison by any means, but I'm just anticipating what I'm going to hear.
Okay.
When I say that Get Out has a tough climb, because it's a horror movie that came out in February, some people are going to start bringing up Silence of the Lambs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, Shutter Island tried that theory, and you would see how far it got in.
That is also...
Not that I wouldn't want that to happen, because I actually just saw Get Out again last week, and it is, like, it's really fucking good. But it's just really hard for me to imagine. But obviously things that have been hard to imagine, like, say, Mad Max's success, have proved me wrong. So, yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we've got. So we move on. Let's get into the acting category, shall we?
All right, this one's a tad messy. Number one, because it was incomplete when I got the call this morning we'd be doing this, and I had to fill it out quickly. And secondly, the reason for that is because I just had no idea what to do with it. There's just not a whole lot going on here. But what I managed to put together was Penelope Cruz for Murder on the Orient Express, Holly Hunter for The Big Sick, Melissa Leo for Bishop, Michelle Pfeiffer for Mother, and Kristen Scott Thomas for Darkest Hour. Before I go into the reasons, I have no idea if it's getting released this year. It might not be, but I hear I, Tonya, the Tonya Harding movie with Mario Robbie.
Which I cannot wait for.
Apparently Allison Janney is like fucking amazing.
Yep.
And then there's like Terry Coon and Sarah Paulson for The Post. Claire Foy in the Andy Serkis movie. But the reason I went with the ones that I did, regardless of how last minute, Penelope Cruz, I'm literally hearing absolutely nothing about Murder on the Orient Express, which is a little tiny bit surprising to me.
Right.
But really the only reason I went for Penelope Cruz is because it's my understanding she's playing the Ingrid Bergman part from the 74 movie who won for that role. So, and Penelope Cruz is obviously a very showy actress who won for a very showy performance, and they loved so much they nominated her for 9. So I went with that. Holly Hunter was the one I did last minute because I'm putting a bit of faith in The Big Sick, and I saw her name around a couple of times, and she's obviously beloved and a winner, but we haven't seen. She used to be nominated like constantly in the early 90s, and then just kind of stopped after her win. Well, no, her last one would have been, what, 13?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Melissa Leo, I heard the Novitsia trailer when I saw Wind River, and it just sounds she's very Anne Bancroft and Agnes of God, very Streep in Doubt, nun performance. So, and obviously both of those were nominated. I only learned the other day that she was supporting. If I hadn't read that, I would have put her in leading.
Wow.
Michelle Pfeiffer's got Mother and Murder on the Orient Express. We know that regardless of genre, if there's one thing Aronofsky can do, it's get his actors in. Like, sometimes I have to remind myself that Ellen Burstyn was nominated for Requiem for a Dream. And he made Black Swan a Best Actress winning movie. So I think that's kind of like, she's another one where they used to nominate her like constantly in the late 80s and early 90s, and then she just hasn't been for a really long time. She just hasn't really gotten that role again.
Right.
And then I just keep hearing about Kristen Scott Thomas for Darkest Hour. Once again, another previous nominee that's just kind of, they tried with Only God Forgives, but that was never going to happen.
No.
So this is kind of her chance at that role again, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay. And Ashley?
So mine is probably sticking at the minute with sort of bigger names rather than ones that are getting buzz. So I've got Holly Hunter for The Big Sick, Nicole Kidman for Killing of a Sacred Deer, Julianne Moore for Something, whether it's Wonderstruck, whether it's Suburbicon, it could be either one of the two. Vanessa Redgrave, Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool, and Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. You're probably hearing Shape of Water a bit, but that's because that's been getting some of the loudest stuff from. But I would have said Nicole Kidman Beguiled, but everything that I've heard from that is really sort of in the situation of the film was only made for Sofia Coppola to try and get Oscar stuff. It's
really
it's not a bad.
Even with all the actors that are in it and their performances, it's one of those movies where you're not really walking away thinking about any of the performances, just strictly the fact that it was Coppola's movie.
Yeah, the cinematography and everything is probably its strongest stuff, along with the directing and whatever. So yeah, that's my list. It's probably going to be on the whole completely wrong, mainly because I can't put Meryl Streep in it this year because she's in the main actress category.
All right, my supporting actress nominees. God, so much difference between you guys. Maybe it's because I'm probably dumb here. I don't know. It's September. My supporting actress nominees are Kristen Scott Thomas for The Darkest Hour, Margot Robbie for Goodbye Christopher Robin, Michelle Williams for The Greatest Showman, Melissa Leo for Novitiate. We'll figure out exactly how to pronounce it soon enough. And Hong Chow for Downsizing. I really want to see Greatest Showman do well. I love the trailer. It looked amazing. I actually watched it at Planet Hollywood about a week and a half ago. And I love that aspect. I mean, it's kind of like Water for Elephants meets Moulin Rouge is the best way to describe it, at least what I can see from visuals alone. And I have the inclination it's going to do a lot better than people think. I think downsizing is a player here, but I don't know necessarily if it's going to remain one. I hope so. I want it to. But
when the full trailer drops, I might be more confident about giving it more. Probably.
I mean, anything that Payne does is going to do decently when it comes to anything. So I see no doubt in my mind. And I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Hong Chau's performance, so I wanted to put her in here to take a line from Ashley with a shout. So yeah, I really think that this lineup could conceivably change a million times, like all the acting categories. But right now, I'm somewhat okay with saying that this is my prediction.
I know I started this off by saying fuck the idea of listening to early word and what other people say, like after early screenings and stuff like that.
Oh no.
But the reason I haven't gone there, because I was like one of the big people really about all about Nebraska back in 2013.
Of course.
But it's like for a long time, like people have been talking about, like I guess downsizing has been seen, or like some type of post would have been seen or something, but pretty much I don't think I've heard anything about it yet, and it feels like I've been hearing stuff forever. And all of that is how underwhelming it is. But like I said, it's really hard to trust that stuff. But I just hear it so consistently about it is why I'm kind of staying away from it, at least for now.
I understand that.
Yeah, like I said, that could be total bullshit too. So.
Well, yeah, of course. But you never know. Let's move on. Move on to Best Supporting Actor.
Here's another one where we've got like 15 players. The ones I've decided on for now are Steve Buscemi for The Death of Stalin, Steve Carell for Last Flag Flying, Willem III for The Florida Project, Michael Shannon for The Current War, and Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me By Your Name. Ones that I didn't mention are apparently Sam Rockwell's got some good notices for three billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. There's Will Poulter in Detroit, but there's the whole argument of his character's too despicable and evil for them to take to him, and he might be too young. The too young thing doesn't really work because he's 4 years older than Lucas Hedges.
Right.
And who proved that wrong last year, or this past year. And he's like despite the huge ensemble cast in that movie, pretty much all the reviews were just talking about Poulter when they talked about the performances.
Yep.
I went with Carell, but I keep, for some reason, hearing about Lawrence Fishburne in Last Flag Flying, which is interesting. I'm really not sure what his character is, but and speaking of movies I went with, but for a different person, I hear Armie Hammer's getting talked up a lot for Call Me by Your Name also.
Yep.
And we know that once again, even if it was 2011, still he's liked by people because of that SAG nomination for J. Edgar, and not just the fact that Armie Hammer's fucking awesome. I hear Colin Farrell's name being thrown around because he's got such a big year. Apparently, the one people seem to be most focused on for him is Roman Israel Esquire, because I guess he's pretty much like right there with Denzel. So if one gets in, the other potentially could as well. And his whole year will just kind of build to that. I could potentially see that, but obviously I didn't go for it. And not so much since it's been released, but prior to its release, I heard some people throwing around Daniel Craig for Logan Lucky, which would be interesting, but I'm going to highly doubt. So the five that I went with, Buscemi, I hear his name a lot, and the fact that he's fucking Steve Buscemi, and he still hasn't been nominated yet. His best bet was Ghost World up to this point.
Yep.
And he's just one of those actors where it's like, yeah, we can probably do that right about now. It's been long enough. And with working with that kind of script, surely an actor in that movie has got to shine. And if it's going to be him, then great. Obviously, Steve Carell has Last Flag Flying. Once again, with the case of Penelope Cruz. Randy Quaid was previously nominated for this when he played the part in The Last Detail. So, and obviously, Steve Carell has shown that he has that capability. On top of the fact that he'll have Battle of the Sexes helping him out too. So, if it could be for one of those, I went with him getting supporting for Last Flag Flying instead of leading for Battle of the Sexes. Willem Dafoe seems to be the most consistent name I'm seeing in this category.
That's the one I keep seeing too.
Which is awesome. I have no idea. Apparently, it's like, just from what I hear, it kind of sounds like Ali in Moonlight.
Uh-huh.
Which, I mean, if you're talking about buzz for a role, last year's winner in this category is a pretty good place to start. Shannon's just kind of, I haven't really seen him in too much, and I know it's like every time he's gotten in so far, it's been a surprise. And every time I go for him early, like in 99 Homes, he almost gets in and then doesn't. But it was kind of one of those cases where pretty much the thing that prompted this was I heard the trailer before Wind River. And I was stuck with a fifth person to put in here, and despite all the other ones, I went ahead and went with him. Since he's now fresh in people's minds after Nocturnal Animals, and he's a much bigger name now than he was the last time he was nominated back in 2008. So maybe he can kind of start. It'd be nice if he could be like a fucking regular, but we'll see how that pans out. And Stuhlbarg, once again, pretty much ever since A Serious Man, he's just been a constant in movies, and not to mention he just had Fargo too. And he seems to be very well liked by everybody. He's very consistent with his work and how great his performances are. So if he's going to have a role in a movie that's going to get as much attention as Call Me by Your Name, that seems like a good bet for him, at least as of now. So yeah, those are mine.
So, interesting thing about Battle of the Sexes. I was under the impression that Carell was running for supporting.
I have not heard anything like that, but
And
I would, judging by the plot, I would assume they're co-leads. But I know there's often been a case where co-leads, one nominated and one the other. But in this particular case, since he's already going to be supporting for Last Flag Flying, it would make sense for Fox Searchlight's doing Battle of the Sexes for them to put him in leading.
But I guess the question with that would be, depending on the list of people that you've got in contention for actor, would it have more of a chance being in supporting actor?
Yep.
We'll have to see when they obviously submit it in and everything. So
Gaius has some more predictions for supporting actress. Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Hong Chow for Downsizing, Holly Hunter for The Big Sick, Kristen Scott Thomas for The Darkest Hour, Melissa Leo for Novitiate. Again, we'll figure it out. Steve Carell for Last Flag Flying, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Jason Mitchell for Mudbound, Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me By Your Name, and Christoph Waltz for Downsizing. I don't think Waltz is getting nominated for anything he's not winning at this point.
That's a big one.
Exactly. Speaking of that, Ashley, predictions.
I'm going with Steve Carell for Last Flag Flying, Oscar Isaac for Suburbicon, Richard Jenkins for Shape of Water, Steve Buscemi for Something, because not only has he got Death of Stalin in contention, but he's also got Lean on Pete, which is getting a fair bit of buzz from Venice right now. And because I have to, because there has to be somebody British in there, Mark Rylance for Dunkirk, because I mean, sort of like every time he's on film, you sort of wonder why he hasn't done more film work. You know, obviously he's a theatre guy through and through, but it's like, just from the roles that he has had, it's like, thank God he's now doing movies on a more regular basis. So, and his character's a very interesting one, which I think is probably the linchpin of like the whole summing up the spirit of what happened 70 plus years ago and everything. So yeah, that's my patriotic pick there.
Go ahead, AJ.
I don't think I really have anything to add.
No, you were saying something and then you seemed like you got cut off.
Well, he was just talking about Rylance not doing, just kind of showing up in movies now, and I just made the comment. I feel like he and Spielberg are attached to the hip now, so.
Makes sense.
Hey, if we've got an alternative to blooming Scorsese and DiCaprio,
we'll go with that. My supporting actor nominee, because apparently I read the wrong list, I'm going to go with Steve Carell for Battle of the Sexes, Armie Hammer for Call Me By Your Name, Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me By Your Name, so it's going to be a double shot. Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, and Michael Shannon for The Shape of Water. If this 5 ends up being the 5 we get for supporting actor, I'm not going to complain. Armie Hammer has needed a boost in his career for a long time, and this actually has a really good chance of being just that. I'm very happy to see Michael Stuhlbarg on this lineup. I know he's not on my list. Neither one of them are on my list, but I'm very excited to see Buscemi and Jenkins on your guys' list, because that would be awesome. And the name, just like AJ said, when it comes down to it, the name that I keep hearing more than anything is Willem Dafoe.
That's pretty ballsy of you to go for the double shot after Spotlight couldn't even pull it off.
Yeah, but look at it from this perspective. You also have, normally you would have people that are like seasoned actors that have been nominated before. I have not only a double shot for a movie that should do really well in awards season, but a double shot from 2 first-time nominees as well. So I'm really going bet on black, bet on red this time.
You know what's really not a place for new nominees?
What's that?
The next category.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. There's one name that I want to put in here, but I couldn't figure out a way to get her in, so we'll get to that in a minute. So as I'm trying to type out everyone's predictions, because it's taking a minute, we're going to get into Best Actress.
So, this race could potentially be really damn boring.
Could be.
Like I feel like I'm going for the best options, but at the same time, it's like, this feels so safe. It is sickening. So, that means we have 4 previous winners and 1 previous nominee.
Okay.
But, you look at that and you think, remember supporting actor 2012, 2012, where everybody was a previous winner. So that's not always that telling. But in the meantime, for actress, I have Jennifer Lawrence for Mother, Saoirse Ronan for Labor, Emma Stone for Battle of the Sexes, Meryl Streep for The Post, and Kate Winslet for Wonder Wheel. Doesn't get as boring and obvious as that. The other options would be I see Chastain around for Molly's Game. I'm not positive how Sorkin's going to do as a director, but I guess we'll see. I heard Larson for The Glass Castle before it came out. Apparently, because it was her reuniting with the short-term 12 director, yeah?
Yeah.
And I heard Woody Harrelson had like a supposedly really baity part in that too, but apparently after its release, people were just like, nah, that's not going to do shit. So there's that. There's Annette Bening for the Film Stars Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. That title's such a mouthful. I can't imagine people checking it off a lot. Despite the fact that Birdman's the best picture winner.
Right.
And Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, but it's like, I'm not quite sure it's a movie they'll go to as far as acting, and the thing that really secured that was the Arrival comparison. Remember how that went down?
Yep.
So I went with Jennifer Lawrence. Seems painfully obvious. I was a bit in denial about her with Joy, and like even despite the reaction Joy got, she still got in there.
Yes, she did.
Like I said, Aronofsky's track record with his actors and actresses, that's particularly actresses, mainly. Yeah. Saoirse Ronan, I hear, is like at win level.
Yep.
Labor, supposedly. Emma Stone getting a very easy Afterglow nomination seems about right. Streep is Streep. And Winslet? We've seen the kind of shit that Winslet has done before.
Yes.
If you like really go deep in her filmography with stuff like Jude and like Hideous Kinky and Holy Smoke, she's gone to some very weird, like her winning role in The Reader even, you could say goes to very interesting places. Apparently Winslet said that this is the most challenging role she's ever had. And to just top that off with the fact that it's a Woody Allen movie, that just seems like a third thing. Like that's just crying for it. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I have there.
Ashley?
This is gonna again sound repetitive and possibly boring, even though there is one different name. But it's a name where it's like it's sort of obvious that that person would be somewhere in the contention. So I've got Meryl Streep for The Post, Kate Winslet for Something, whether it be Wonder Wheel, whether it be Mountain Between Us, it'll be one of the two. Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, Emma Stone for Battle of the Sexes, and Judi Dench for Victoria and Abdul. Because let's be honest, this must be a sequel to Mrs. Brown. And that got her acclaim, 15 years ago?
Isn't Stephen Frears the director, though?
Yeah, as well.
That's always a good bet.
So yeah, those are my five. I mean,
no
it's I shouldn't be saying like Sally Hawkins. It seems boring because it's like, I think her first Oscar nomination.
Nope.
Did she get recognition for Happy Go Lucky?
I'll never let anybody live that one down because I called that.
Yeah, but that was before this was a thing between us. So I was trying to remember. No, but it's like somebody which it's like that hasn't really garnered huge success really on the Hollywood stage. And add that into, was it Maudie that she was in as well?
I believe so.
You know, it seems as if she's, and plus Paddington 2, bitches, Paddington 2.
Indeed. So, real quick, guys in chat says Jessica Chastain for Molly's Game, Judi Dench for Victoria and Abdul, Frances McDormand for Three Billboard, and insert titles like the Fiona Apple, and Emma Stone for Battle of the Sexes, and Meryl Streep for The Post.
Mine is Streep's always in.
Mine is a mixture, as always, of everybody's and everything that everyone's mentioned. My best actress lineup is Meryl Streep for The Post because Meryl Streep, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, Emma Stone for Battle of the Sexes, Jennifer Lawrence for Mother, and Annette Bening for Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. I think that Mother is a contender for basically Lawrence alone. Just like Joy, which what AJ brought up, this is probably going to happen. I think Emma Stone once again has a chance. Don't think she will, but she has a chance to repeat. Ronan is the name that gets thrown around a lot, and it could lead to Oscar Gold. And Meryl Streep, it's Meryl Streep. I mean, it's Meryl Streep being directed by Steven Spielberg. There's got to be something great to it. It's going to be a very boring. I'll get to that. Don't worry. I will say right now, I think, like AJ said, it's probably going to be a boring award season, but you never know. Maybe when we actually start getting to this category, it's possible that we could get some surprises. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I was just looking at it and I was noticing we're already hearing that Ronan is win-worthy.
Correct.
If these five I have were to be right, that seems to only be significantly helping her. She'd be the only non-winner in the group.
Yep.
That could even change. I'd forgotten about McDormand. That's also a really good choice. And of course, she would not change anything because she as well as a previous winner.
Yes, indeed. Now we move on to Best Actor.
Well, this is interesting. There's really not a lot of side options I have either. But I have Chadwick Boseman for Marshall, Bryan Cranston for Last Flag Flying, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington for Roman Israel Esquire. First off, I'd like to mention a lot of people are pissed off they changed the title Inner City to Roman Israel Esquire because I think it's a terrible title, especially since he's a fictional character.
Mm.
Am I the only one that thinks that's an awesome title?
It's a cool title. I'll give him that.
It's different.
Yeah.
The only person I really consider, Cranston was a last-minute choice because I took out Jackman after The Greatest Showman started getting all the negative buzz. He seemed like such a sure bet too, and that's not even if the movie's shit, you know, he still can do it. I mean, we see the reaction I Am Sam got, and Penn still got in, so that could totally happen. But the other option, obviously, is the lead in Call Me by Your Name, who is a guy that's like he's one of those people that's starting to pop up everywhere.
Right.
But this is kind of the case where we have the Will Poulter conversation, where it's like he's a younger guy. And it's like, I know we say, you know, fuck statistics every year and stuff like that, and it's not always what you can base on because things are always changing and things are always being reset. But still, it's really, really damn rare for an actor that young to get in leading. Like, really, really fucking rare, to the point that you have to acknowledge it. So, that's pretty much the only reason I don't have him here. Otherwise, he'd probably be in Cranston's place. But as far as Chadwick Boseman goes, obviously, I still think it is terrible that he's not already nominated for Get On Up 3 years ago.
No lie.
And he's had a consistency here, but the thing that really, I think, plays a part here is obviously comic book movies are getting played up a lot, how like Wonder Woman's getting a big push and all that stuff. If I remember correctly, right as soon as award season is really, really going to kick into really high gear, Black Panther will have just come out. So he's definitely going to be like front and center in everybody's attention after Black Panther comes out. And the fact that he's going to have Marshall to ride, I think could get him there.
It's possible.
It's him in a biopic role after having already proved himself in biopics The 42 and Get On Up. Not only has he proved himself, he's really, really proved himself. So for now, I'm going to bet on that. Cranston, once again, he's doing the Nicholson role from The Last Detail. That in itself is a very good setup. And once again, it's Linklater directing actors, while that doesn't always prove to make you an Oscar contender, he's gonna have merit to go on, I assume. Daniel Day-Lewis kind of speaks for itself. He's Daniel Day-Lewis. They're playing up that whole retirement thing. I still don't believe it because wasn't he retired before Gangs of New York?
He is the Terry Funk of acting right now.
Yeah, he's like the Soderbergh of actors. Oldman for The Darkest Hour seems to be getting talked up the most, and obviously Denzel. Denzel's just getting talked up in general, but I also like to think that people are. He was so ridiculously close on Oscar night to the point that it still kind of fucking hurts.
Yep.
And this could just be kind of still riding that fences wave, and the movie itself and the part itself should. He seems to be a bit secure in this now. That obviously could change, but yeah, I'll stick with him for now.
Okay. Ashley?
So there's four that I'm confident about here, and then there's the one which I'll obviously leave till the end. So I've got Matt Damon for Downsizing, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, because, you know, if it is his final film, again, they'll probably give him some recognition. Andrew Garfield for Breathe, because the Academy does like people that get physical with their performances, especially with disabilities. I mean, perhaps that's the only reason why Eddie Redmayne won a few years back for Theory of Everything. Who knows? Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, and then because I saw the trailer and it sort of piques my interest, whereas the other ones I haven't been able to see the trailers yet because they haven't been that high profile, at least on my radar. Liam Neeson for Mark Felt, the man who brought down the White House, aka Not That Deep Throat. To me, that film at the minute feels a little like Jackie last year. I mean, okay, Jackie was also up for like the costume and, you know, some of the technical categories, but it feels like a film that's only going to get recognition in terms of one performance. And, you know, be nice to see Liam Neeson considered for stuff that isn't action schlocky stuff. Also keep in mind as well, it's actually from the guy that brought Concussion, which sort of did Will Smith get a nomination or did he miss out? I can't remember. I think he missed out, didn't he?
Yeah,
Concussion?
the whole controversy. Yeah. If I had my way, he would have gotten in.
Yeah.
He didn't get any part of the book.
Yeah, so I'll put that in there because, again, as well, considering current topical stuff and how Donald may or may not hate the arts, this might be the whole, we're doing this as a message, you know, this could be the political choice, possibly. Because we know the Oscars is all about the politics and stuff.
So, best actor. I feel like you guys are actually trying to really, like, let's go delve deep into stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. Gaius has Matt Damon for Downsizing, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Tom Hanks for The Post, Gary Oldman for The Darkest Hour, and Joaquin Phoenix for You Were Never Really Here. He's not confident about Hanks, but if Jackman was in instead, he would pretty much be 2012 again. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I forgot. I came really close to Phoenix.
Yep. My best actor lineup. Oh, boy. You know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And once again, I like to use the term going down with the ship, and that's exactly what's going to happen yet again. My nominees for Best Actor, Tom Hanks for The Post, Matt Damon for Downsizing, Gary Oldman for The Darkest Hour, Hugh Jackman for The Greatest Showman, And yes, James Franco for The Disaster Artist. You laugh now. When Franco gets a surprise nomination, you're not going to be laughing.
Probably not.
Jackman, I really think, even with bad buzz against the film itself, I still think it's going to do fine to get him in. Ullman seems to be the only one that I've seen that is contending for the win right now. The ones that I've been looking at. Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg literally go together like peas and carrots. So it's going to work really well. And Matt Damon, I'm telling you, I think this might be his year. I really do. Downsizing may be a bigger contender than people think it is. I guess we're going to have to wait and find out.
His last nomination was only 2 years ago.
I know. Franco could go either. Yeah, guys is mentioning, love to see Franco get in, but heard he was supporting. I've seen both, so I don't know which one they're actually going to campaign for. Obviously, given who he's playing, I would say he'd definitely be leading because it's. But then again, it could be a supporting performance. It just depends. We haven't seen the movie yet. It actually is going to be debuting at festivals. It debuts at TIFF.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious to see where we go from here. If he goes to supporting, there's an easy way to flip flop and move Carell in his spot and put him in the Carell spot in my lineup. So that makes it a lot easier for me. So speaking of a lot easier for me, let's go into our next category. We're nearing the end, everyone. And we're going to go into Best Director. This is a huge lineup this year. A lot of movies are on the dance card that could possibly get in for Best Director. AJ, what's your 5?
I have Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water, Luca Guadagnino, is that how you say it? Call Me By Your Name, Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, and Steven Spielberg for The Post. The one I considered, even though you'll notice later that the reason I unconsidered it was, is his name Sean Baker, who did The Florida Project?
I believe so, yes. I'm very much looking forward to this movie for a lot of reasons.
And he's the guy that did Tangerine.
Yep.
Yeah, because Hollywood went fucking crazy for Tangerine.
Yeah, they totally did.
Like that whole year, practically at every round table, somebody brought up, in Tangerine, they made the movie just with iPhones. It's like, you could do that now, and that's amazing. Like, everybody was talking of Tangerine, so it's like, if they know that's who he is, they could really go for this movie and him. But I didn't take it any farther than Defoe after having said that. But obviously, yeah, we have giant names in here. Paul Thomas Anderson kind of speaks for himself. Like, this could be his return to a top 5 contender, or at least very close to that. This would be Del Toro's first nomination in this category, and with the way he's been built up through his whole career, even if people say he hit up some snags, like say Crimson Peak, still, if he's got a movie that's as much in contention as people are saying The Shape of Water could be, and like I said, if the Arrival comparisons or anything to go on, this seems like the perfect setup to open the door for him. Guadagnino, the director of Call Me By Your Name, who I first recognized from I Am Love, and then he did A Bigger Splash, which I really liked. And he's about to go into the mainstream because he's doing the Suspiria remake. So, and the fact that this Call Me By Your Name is going to possibly be that movie it's like there's always that small movie now that's a top 5 contender. This appears to be what that is. So, that's why he would be there. Everybody wants to say after Inception and all that, Nolan will never get nominated now, but obviously we knew eventually it was going to come. And the second we heard it was going to be a World War II movie, it was like, yeah, because you look and you're like, well, just how much are they going to hold back on the Nolan love? Well, a World War II movie brought Mel Gibson back into the Best Director category. Sure as fuck, Nolan can get in there with a movie like Dunkirk. So... And Spielberg kind of speaks for himself. Spielberg's been out of the spotlight in this category for a while. But Lincoln was only 5 years ago. So
Right.
he's fine. So, yeah.
All right, Ashley.
Plus, his name was bandied about anyway for what's his name, Bridge of Spies as well, just a few years back
I
itself.
was kind of predicting him up to the day.
Yeah. So the obvious two in mine are Nolan for Dunkirk and Spielberg for The Post. The one I think might get momentum if the mocap push doesn't work by Warner Brothers. Okay, it's a different distributor, but I think there might, if they want to give some recognition, might be Andy Serkis's chance for his directorial debut for Breathe.
Okay.
Or at least major directorial debut. And then, just because I think Warner Brothers are going to be that desperate, I'm putting Patty Jenkins in here for Wonder Woman. Because I think there's going to be some sort of recognition for a woman. And I just think because of Sofia Coppola's somewhat whitewashing of Beguiled might actually go against her. And I don't know whether people will actually keep Detroit with Catherine Bigelow in mind. Of course, you've also got, Angelina Jolie's Netflix thing in contention, and also Greta Gerwig, and I think that's the only sort of real sort of early frontrunners as it stands. The other one, just because I'm sucking in from the trailers and because of last year and 2 years before that and 2 years before that, Denis Villeneuve for Blade Runner 2049. I'm going on the fact that there is going to be, and I do this every year because of what happened with Inception and what happened with Mad Max in previous years. There's always one film which I think is going to be the mainstream thing to try and sucker in people that aren't interested into the awards to be interested. So Wonder Woman and Blade Runner would cover that.
So, Guy says Joe Wright for Darkest Hour, Alexander Payne for Downsizing, Chris Nolan for Dunkirk, finally a nod. Steven Spielberg for The Post. Feel that editing and tech nominations may help Denny get in for Blade Runner 2049. So he's on your side, Ashley, for sure.
Wow, he didn't get even nominated for bloody Prisoners.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Or Sicario. God damn it.
My best director lineup. We're talking about a movie that is going to stick out like a sore thumb, but honestly, I really think this is the movie this year that's going to sneak up out of nowhere, and I'll get to it at the end. So I'm going to go with my lineup for best director. Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water, Steven Spielberg for The Post, Joe Wright for The Darkest Hour, and yes, Jordan Peele for Get Out. It's a shot in the dark, to say the least, but I'm going with it. Get Out hit hard with not just horror fans, but with the general public and with the critics. And I really think that this being a big year in film, a movie like Get Out has the opportunity to slide in and be that out of nowhere. We should have seen it coming, but we always had it in the back of our minds, but we pushed it out. It was like, no, it's just a horror movie. It's not going to matter. Get Out captivated people. Unlike the movie like its kind is done in a long time. And that's why I think that Get Out is a real contender this year. Who knew that a movie that had a trailer that was just an abrupt horror movie would turn out to be so polarizing? And I really think they're going to credit Jordan Peele for that directorial masterpiece.
I guess we'll find out.
And of course, AJ's like, oh, when you're stupid, stop saying, don't talk anymore.
like Peele's like, man, I just got all these Oscar nominations. What are you doing, Keegan? Oh, I'm fighting the Predator.
Yeah. Well, it's like Flight of the Conchords. Exact same concept. So, I think we're under the same impression that we always do this every year, and we're going to do it again. So we're going to Best Picture. I believe we're still doing 9, correct?
That's what I've got.
Ashley, do we have 9?
I'm just making sure I've got 9. Yeah.
So, as the rules go here, if we are anywhere in this realm of 9, that we get 7, 8, 5, God forbid that ever happens again, we're going to be technically correct. So, AJ, your 2018 Best Picture lineup.
I have Battle of the Sexes, The Big Sick, Call Me By Your Name, Detroit, Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and Wind River. Said before, Battle of the Sexes would be kind of like the upbeat choice. Big Sick is the small indie movie that gets in there, based pretty much solely on its screenplay. Call Me By Your Name would be top 5 contender. Obviously, Dunkirk, The Post, The Shape of Water, Phantom Thread. Detroit, I'm kind of seeing as like the Selma approach, where I guess you could say this for Get Out, but I definitely see it much more for Detroit, where it gets in because strictly based on its subject matter, and that they would view it as important. Assuming it has the strength to get that far, because I know it's kind of like the talk for it has like died down a lot. But once again, just anything when we get into like guild nominations, stuff like that, anything can be resurrected.
Of course.
And then Wind River is I'm trying to figure out exactly why I went for it. I think it's more like kind of like the Winter's Bone approach. Obviously, Wind River is a bigger movie than Winter's Bone was, but it just kind of. I don't know how to explain that really. I just feel like it has kind of that enough emotional power in it that people will remember, and it'll get just enough of those passionate votes to get it in like at the very bottom.
Okay. Ashley, Best Picture.
So just as a last minute change. So I've got Big Sick, Call Me By Your Name, Downsizing, Dunkirk, Last Flag Flying, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and Get Out. I think Get Out was so critically well received and would be considered an indie film, despite, of course, its February release. Because I would not be surprised if suddenly we got to November and Get Out all of a sudden is getting limited theatrical re-releases again.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
So those are my 9. I dropped out Darkest Hour because I'm not sure on Downsizing, because again, all that I've seen from it really is the teaser trailer, and I'm still waiting for the actual full trailer to drop. But there's a lot of movies in there which obviously I haven't even thrown in, and there's obviously other ones which we probably aren't even talking about yet that might actually get their buzz when they debut over the upcoming month. So those are my 9 as it stands.
Okay. Last but certainly not least, well, actually, before, guys, Battle of the Sexes, Blade Runner 2049, Call Me By Your Name, The Darkest Hour, Downsizing, Dunkirk, Molly's Game, Mudbound, and The Post. And my Best Picture lineup is going to be, where are you? There you are. The Shape of Water, The Darkest Hour, there's too many does here. Battle of the Sexes, Dunkirk, Call Me By Your Name, Downsizing, The Post, Get Out, and The Disaster Artist. Just like American Hustle, I'm going down with the ship. So that's going to end our predictions for September, at least. Join us in October for revelations from TIFF and Venice and the state of the race, and who knows what's going to change in the meantime. Once again, I want to thank Ashley for joining us tonight.
Hi.
You can follow him on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a regular viewer on this network, you can check him out every single Monday and Wednesday here with our Monday Night Raw and Wednesday Wrestling podcast. And also all of our NXT, Ring of Honor, and WWE and GFW, actually, pay-per-view podcasts, and our NXT TakeOver podcast. So, yes. AJ, once again, thank you for joining us once more. Yeah, last minute. Sorry about that. But we'll be a little bit more prepared. Hopefully the setup will be a little bit better. If you had an issue hearing AJ, completely understandable. In the description bar, I'm going to put all of our predictions sometime later today, so you can have that if you want to check it out. And you're going to be able to listen to us here in podcast form. Follow the network at Popcast Network. Follow me at Sir Owen Disney if you so choose. And continue to check out the other segments here on this network, from wrestling all the way up to things like AJ's movie reviews and versus. Every single week, AJ brings you movie reviews and versus battles between two movies, sometimes more, hint, hint. And also regular segments like Sip and Snack, where I try new food items from a picky eater's perspective. And coming soon, once again, Popcast will bring you the elite of the Popcast Network in our Halloween Horror Nights 27 full reveal podcast coming very soon. So once again, as always, I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. Go out tonight and go see a movie. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.